Let's go, bro.
3 shots, 4 par, I just do 2. 1 putt, par 4, birdie, woohoo. New driver, info, replace, M2, par 5, fairway, what you fin do? Think I'll try to get on into, start right, good line, good view, it drew.
It's like 1:30 in the morning, and we're headed 550 miles, approximately, to the Pine Barrens.
Shooter McGavin, 2 thumbs that's up high and 2 fingers pointed at you, pew pew. Fairway to green, conk off that I'm playing. Sometimes these par 3 green look like an island, I'm playing and keep it.
First of all, Luke, thanks for your service, man. This is appreciate you making the time for us too. You know, we're a couple days after Remembrance Day, Veterans Day. Bryce is down. He's a Canadian, but he's down in Michigan right now. So thanks so much for your service. Can you kick us off? Just give us an intro who Luke Cyr is, and is it Cyr? We got that right?
Yes, yeah, Luke Cyr.
All right, and then we'll chat about the foundation too.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for having me on. Luke Cyr, retired military. I joined when I was 18 years old. After that, I was injured physically and mentally. I wasn't able to continue my military career. So once I was released from there, I tried to be a PSW, which is an awful career choice for me to go into. I loved helping the elderly, but at the end of the day, they had come to me to die. So it wasn't a great thing, especially when you're struggling with PTSD. Mm-hmm. After that, I just kind of left that trade and slowly retreated into the darkness because it was comfortable. And to where we are here today on October 30th of 2021, I tried to take my life. And the only reason I'm here is not walked into my house and said, "What did you just do?" So I was placed in a treatment center. While I was in that treatment center, I was reached out to by a friend of mine who had said, let's go on a Caddy school for soldiers. It's in Scotland. I'll get you on the course. I said, I can't play golf anymore. He said, no worries. All you gotta do is be a caddy. And from there, Cabot hired me on the spot, and here I stand today.
That's amazing, Luke. That's
incredible.
Yeah, man. Happy to have you here.
Caddying saved my life. It gave me a purpose, you know, and I'm pretty good at it. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and say I'm actually really good at caddying. So when you have that constant praise, like, how do I keep you? How do I keep you? How do I keep you? Like, how do I get you for the rest of the week? It's like, oh, you got me. Like, it's great. Even winning the RBC this year, kind of just another feather in the cap. It's an unbelievable, like, it saved my life, this thing. And what I want to do is give everybody the same opportunity I had. Because if you really look at my story, this guy went right to the edge and he got lucky, but look at him now. Why can't I can do the exact same thing as him? If he's right down to nothing, why can't I be the same as he is? So
Luke, is that kind of how you got things started with the Luke Cyr Foundation?
For the Luke Cyr Foundation, after the first season, I'm writing a book called Letters to My Innocence. It's kind of like talks a story about the darkness, my success to where I want to be in the finish. But as it came along, I want to have one copy. I was going to sell it and take all the profits to give the Caddy School for Soldiers. Then it kind of, as it was being written, I don't want anything to do with it. So I sat down with my Uncle Dave, who's like a business genius. And he said, well, why don't we try and do something where you can give back? And the 2 charities that I helped, the Robbie Dean Center and the Caddy School for Soldiers, were both integral parts of me being here today. That's why I give back. And we just started this, and let's see what we can do. And after the first year, I was able to give each charity $12,500. This year, $17,500, putting our 18-month total up to $30,000 contributed to both charities. And with the initiative I'm launching in 2025, sky's the limit.
That's amazing, Luke. That's
incredible.
That's incredible, man. We should just drop a note. So if anybody's just listening to us here, I know Luke's kind of just you're 60 yards or so off of the second tee in Inverness.
Pardon me?
You said you're about 60 yards or so off the second tee. Yeah. So I think there is a bit of a connection, but we're gonna work through it. But yeah. So you're kind of right on Cabot now. So for anybody who's kind of anybody's like following the pod or wants to go check your story out, you're living right on the course. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm just right there, and it's hard now because my therapy is on those fairways, and so I look out and I can't go.
Yeah.
So, but I use the foundation, and especially like ever since I launched this 2025 initiative, it's been it's blowing up. I was like, oh, I'm gonna take a couple of weeks, kind of relax. No, there was no time to relax. But when it comes to mental health and taking on mental health, there is no time to relax.
Yeah,
So
couldn't agree more.
so how does the foundation work? So the idea of and thanks to Bob. So we were kind of chatting about Bob Weeks before we clicked record here. So Bob's a friend of the pod. He's been connected with us for years. Um, he had done a story on Luke. So I told you I'd caught pieces of it and it was refreshing kind of my memory, but I think he had written it about a year and a half ago. So I will link any of that in the show notes below, and the Luke Cyr Foundation, I'll drop that in the show notes below. But can you kind of explain how it is going to work for you? Like, I know it's going to be like any of your money made through caddying, but can you kind of like share the details of how you're going to work that through?
Yeah, so in 2025, right now I'm doing like fundraisers and gala nights and um, actually people just donating money to my story, which is great. And I've built so much momentum over these first 18 months. I said, what can I do? Because I thought like, how can I capitalize on this? And when I decided I'm going to donate every dollar I earn next year as a caddy to my foundation, and then I'll use that when people come to Cabot as part of the story. Like the money that you're getting or you're giving to me is going to save someone's life. So all as the year goes on, I'm gonna build it up and then make that donation. But we've also some ideas where we're going to be um, trying to find sponsors as I walk along that path. So my idea is to try and walk from Inverness to my hometown of Sault Ste. Marie. So through a golf tracking app while I'm on the course, which usually ranges about between 12 and a half and 13 and a half kilometers, depending on your golfer skill, it will track me the amount of kilometers I walked. And I'm going to try and go, it's 2,403 kilometers to get to Sault Ste. Marie. So over the season on the golf course, I'm going to try and get to that. So which we've come up with an idea to come, we're going to release a form that you can follow me along and maybe donate a nickel, a dime, a quarter, or a loonie to every kilometer that I walk. So we're going to try and spread this information out there. Also, along that path, we're going to try and reach out to sponsors along that route to see if they would want to be part of this. So during my daily blogs, I can say, I'm just making this name up, but I'm going to Frank's Fried Chicken in Antigonish, and I can't wait to taste blah, 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 blah. And that's the way we're going to do it. And at the end of the season, I'm actually going to drive that trail and stop at every one of my sponsors and just to thank them in person. And then we'll have the final gala. So there'll be my fourth gala next October, and I'm doing it on October 30th. And I think that's fitting on the anniversary of the day I tried to take my life. And we're going to call it the Victory Gala because I'm going to let everybody know that I've beaten the darkness and I'm ready to, take on life again and give myself a second chance.
Movember is upon us, and Full Wedge just dropped 4 pieces with 15% off all sales, going directly to help raise awareness of men's health issues such as prostate cancer, testicular cancer, men's suicide. We've got a polo, a hoodie, 2 hats. Visit fullwedgegolf.com. Be part of the solution.
That is awesome. I think that's fantastic. Good for you, man.
Now, Luke, like, can you kind of share, like, with the foundation, like, with some of the soldiers that you're connected with, can you kind of share, like, some of the just some of the things that they might be going through?
Yeah, for a lot of the soldiers, like especially on the Caddy School for Soldiers or the Robbie Dean Center. The Robbie Dean Center is located in Renfrew County. There's 2 locations, and the Robbie Dean Center is somewhere. When you're waiting to go see a social worker, you're waiting to go see a psychiatrist, and it's like a year and a half wait. You have to wait. This is a place you can go to kind of like wait and take care of like all the programs that they run, kind of help you, kind of keep you stable until you can get to those doctors, which is, I think there should be a Robbie Dean Center in every town in this country. But it's a not-for-profit organization, receives no federal funding. So the only way they keep their doors open and the only way they keep their hours running is by donation. So that's why I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they get money. My dad had talked to Monique Yashinsky, and that's Robbie's mother, and he said to her, "I'm so sorry your son had to die to save my son's life." And I feel I owe that to Robbie to as long as I got air in my lungs and strengthen his legs and I can walk mile after mile up and down those fairways, I'll do whatever I can to make sure that place succeeds. And same as the Caddy School for Soldiers, they only work off a donation. So the more money I get to them, the more sessions they run, the more veterans they can save. So I believe I'm just going to keep going. Why not? I believe God gave me a second chance, and it was for this reason. And I know He helps guide me along the way because there's no reason of how the success is going along that I'm so successful. It's unbelievable. And I just thank my team. I thank all my volunteers, and we are just going to keep going and going and going until we pull everybody from the darkness and return them to the light.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. And it's like a huge feat, right? I'm kind of thinking about my friend like Curtis. So he was in the military for a couple years, and he got into a program with the elevator mechanics union here called Helmets to Hard Hats, I believe it was. So I thought, like, when he was kind of explaining that to me, I thought that was pretty cool. It's like an opportunity for soldiers that have kind of come back in this area that they can get in, they can learn like a skilled trade, right? So
yeah,
I don't know like the depths of the funding or whatever it may be, but it kind of it gave him an option, after being in the military, kind of coming back and an option to grow his career. And now like his career has like blossomed. Like he's flying now, he's doing great, right? It's just so it wasn't something where he had any like trauma or anything that he was dealing with, but it was still just like such a great opportunity because you hear like, and you see it in like so many movies, there's like soldiers or just like any veterans that come back, there's like and like you said, there you wasn't, or Bob kind of noted in his article there you just didn't feel like there was a fit for you. You tried like PSW, you tried to like the personal support work, and it'd be hard to find something that fits. So like the I think like the Caddy school is pretty cool. Can you mentioned
really
like
cool.
a friend of yours kind of got you into it, but can you mention like how that got going for you? And it was over in Scotland too?
Yeah, so I ended up over on the course, and it was actually full. But my friend was pretty adamant. His name's Sean Sutherland, and he was very adamant to get me on the course. So I didn't even stay in the caddy house. I actually stayed in the mentor house,
Okay.
and they made a spot for me. And to this day, like the creator of the program, this is American. His name's Don Snyder, and the reason he came up with this because his mother had passed away at childbirth, and his father and uncle came back from Korea, and they suffered from PTSD. And while he tried to figure life out and all this stuff, he found himself in Scotland and he's a writer and was writing a book, but he caddied on the side, and he just seen how therapeutic caddying was, so he decided to create this course. So the Caddy School for Soldiers brings in 2 Americans, 2 UK, and 2 Canadian soldiers for every session. And here at Cabot, I think there's been 11 of us that come through here, like sporadically. Some guys come, some guys go. But one of the starters here, his name's Norm Smith, and he had told me, Luke, I just want to congratulate you. I was like, for what? He goes, you don't see it, but you should see. I've seen these guys come in day one and where they are now. And just to see guys just wanting to live, they're just so excited. And like before, I used to think, when's this all over? Now I think about what's tomorrow going to bring. And that's the difference. And that's if I always tell my golfers, they're like, do you miss playing golf? I said, well, as a caddy, I'm kind of am golfing. The only difference is I never get angry at golf anymore. I said, it's actually a very great game. It's very therapeutic. It's amazing. Look at all the views. I know you just threw your club over there. I'll go get it for you. But at the end of the day, my man, this is actually a really nice spot.
You must see some some things out at
I would have been a caddy my whole life.
Yeah, man, you must see some things out at Cabot too, just like people like we kind of talked about before we clicked record again, but just people like sort of taking it in, right? And being one of the 2 of the nicest tracks like in North America. It's and I've seen the views down there. And unfortunately, I've talked about it before, but I was rained out pretty bad on both days. But it's hard to beat, man. Like there's just something about that area. It's really special, right? So just being able to kind of connect with all those people and I don't know. Do you have any? Can you give us like any stories that stick out from your your caddying journey of connecting with anybody?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you run into all kinds. But I've always told my golfer, like I had one guy one time, he's from Baltimore, and his wife had bought him this round of links, bought him a caddy, and he was nervous. He's freaking out. He's having a panic attack. He pulls out this whiskey screwdriver in those little bottles. He downs it. I go, "Are you okay?" So we get to the third hole, and he's just freaking out. I'm like, he goes, "I'm just so nervous." I go, "My man, you will not be the best golfer I've ever seen. You will not be the worst. Can we go have fun?" He's like, "Okay, let's go have fun."
That's fair.
And then he was calm after that. And I had this guy come over from England. He was there with his son-in-law, his son, and his wife. Well, he was super angry for a couple holes. We're at the cliffs, and I was telling him, it's it was about 3 holes. He's just angry, angry, angry. So I said, I got to bring this guy around. Like he's got to realize where he's at. So I said, it's probably a ball out in the left. Well, he yanks it. He pushes it, and I look at him. I said, when I say a ball, I mean a golf ball, not a soccer ball. He just went stunned, and he's like starts laughing. I go, can we have fun now? He said, yeah, okay. But everybody who comes through is so amazing. I remember caddying for Joe Carter. I'm a Yankees fan. And every time he hit the ball, it's like, oh, this like hitting over the left field wall, Joe. I was like, oh, yay, I'm a Yankees fan. This is horrible. And then Jose Bautista came the next year, and I was like, oh cool. My God. But I tell you one thing, Jose Bautista is one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet in your life. It was so hard as a Yankees fan. I was like, why do I like you? Yeah. You're such a great man.
A Yankees fan.
But no, it's just the stuff out here.
Should have asked him how Lindor's right hook was.
Yeah, I guess, eh? Yeah. He's just like I've seen that. I've actually heard that from Bautista, like about Bautista before, but he's just such a passionate, like intense guy, right? Like he's a competitor, man.
Yeah.
Now, do you?
You're about to say why am I a Yankees fan? I'm also a Montreal Canadiens fan. And so my dad had 2 rules growing up. You want a roof over your head, you cheer for the Habs and Yanks. If you want to eat, you cheer like you mean it. So I had no other choice. Right, man's got to eat.
That's true. That's true.
But,
I could see being
that's how I ended up.
Well, so are you originally from the Sioux?
Yeah, I'm from Sault Ste. Marie. Yeah.
There you go, Bryce. There's a connection for
you.
So
his father came from Trois-Rivières, something like that, somewhere in Quebec.
Yeah.
And he was a huge Habs fan, but then when the Nordiques came, he was cheering for the Nordiques. So my dad stayed loyal to the Habs, and I had no other choice.
I guess so. Yeah, you gotta take what you can get, right? But it's I can see.
Yeah.
It's like being in Canada. You don't see too many Yankees fans. I got a friend Nick, who's like a diehard Yankees fan as well. And I'm like, how did that happen? Like, you're from Toronto. How did that happen? But there's a lot of like Habs fans in the area. But I was trying to. Bryce just stepped away for a second. He's probably going to.
Well, I was gonna grab my jersey, but I think it's packed away.
Yeah, Bryce is a Sioux boy, so Bryce played junior in the Sioux. So he, you guys might recognize a couple of same spots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
I loved it there.
My dad probably screamed and yelled at you from the stands because he thinks he's the GM.
Yeah, I didn't play too much, but when I was out there, he was probably screaming at me.
Yeah.
It's Bryce is
I'll watch hockey with my dad, and he'll.
Go ahead, Luke. I think we had a bit of a delay on you. Go ahead.
When I watch hockey with my dad, That's okay. When I watch hockey with my dad, I'll watch him scream and yell at the TV, and I'll look over. You like hockey? I love it. Weird. He hates them when they're winning, hates them when they're losing.
Yeah.
It's like wants to sell this guy and then bring him back. Oh, just a true Habs fan. Just a true Habs fan.
I was like a diehard Patrick Roy fan when I was a kid. So, like I would say I'm a Leaf fan, but I'm a hockey fan though too. Like I just love hockey, and like I love Patrick Roy when I was a kid. But seeing him play his last game in a Habs jersey was something, man. That was a wild time back then. That was seeing a goalie kind of come off the ice and just go over and say that's it. That's like you'd never see anything like that again. But and now he's coaching. Now he's like he's coaching at every level now. So, but did you mentioned that you did play a little bit of golf back in the day, Luke?
Yeah, well, I tried. I was probably arguably the worst putter in North America.
There's a couple decent tracks up there in the Sioux, though. I used to go up to forget what it was called, but it was kind of in like wasn't a mountain, I'm gonna say, but kind of a rocky terrain up. I forget what it was called, but
Crimson Ridge.
Crimson Ridge, great track.
Yeah, that's my dad. Yeah, my dad plays up there.
I used to play there
He
all the
loves
time.
it. Yeah. Well, the head pro was the guy I was talking about that came 2 years ago to the RBC that didn't trust my number and ended up coming up short. Sorry, Travis, if you're watching this.
Black Friday. And in some parts of the golf season is wrapping up, but there's no better time than now to stock up for next season or cross a couple items off the holiday checklist for the golfer in your life. Black Friday sales are available at fullwedgegolf.com. Up to 30% off November 15th through the 30th at fullwedgegolf.com.
I can read a putt like you won't believe, but I just can't hit my line.
That's fair. That's fair.
I know what you're doing, and the best thing is when you're a caddy, and if you're coming to Cabot and your caddy really doesn't know the read, he's gonna tell you it's all about the pace. When you hear it's all about the pace, he's like, yeah, he's a little iffy if it's a ball or 2 balls out. It's all about the pace.
Well, and like it's kind of like
that's the thing. Like, but
sorry, Luke. I was saying it's kind of like Bryce and I have both played out at my track at Port Hope, and like it seems like any course that's near the water just has really nasty greens, and that's the thing that we say all the time. We're like, it's just about pace. Like you're just trying to hit the ball somewhere near the hole. Like you're not trying to hole it. It's like just hoping for the best here.
Especially when the wind gets up too, and you have to kind of take, and it's enough to move your ball or enough to influence a break. I mean, you got to take that into consideration too. And
it's just it's crazy up here. Like, especially when you're trying to read a putt, and even as a caddy, like you got to have thick skin. Like we were standing there. You watch someone pull a putt or push a putt. They're like, it didn't turn. My fault.
Yeah,
of course it's not. It's your putt. It's your putt. I was the worst putter in North America. You're the second worst.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
What's the best part about being a caddy, and what's the most difficult part about being a caddy? Like, keep in mind when Luke's answering this question, he's at Cabot, which is, the most beautiful views in Canada. But what's the best and most difficult part about being a caddy?
The best part about being a caddy is at the end of 18, when that person who had never broke 9 or 100 before shoots an 89, and they think you're the second coming, or just even being out there, just watching like the oohs and the ahs, especially where I'm at. Like this is the number 1 course in Canada, the number 4 or 5 or whatever it is for the links, and it's just to watch people come in, and every 4 days here at Cabot, there's a new energy. It's not a mundane job. It's like, oh, I got to go to work again. You're like, who am I going to get? It could be a bunch of party animals. It could be just somebody who's coming here to enjoy themselves. It could be someone who's tells you, I could never afford this. This was a gift. And it's you get them around. They have the best time of their life. That's the best part about being a caddy. I think the hardest thing about being a caddy is especially like when you're putting in the hours and you're putting in the loops. Like if you're doing 11, 12 loops a week and a new group comes in and you're like, oh, I was going to take Tuesday off, and they're like, how do I keep you? And you're like, oh my God, you know what I mean? You just kind of keep beating yourself up to make sure the guests are happy, which is priority. But still at the end of the day, you're like, oh man, I was just kind of filling in for this, and now they want me for the next 4 days. All right, here we go. I'll take a day off at some point. But I think that's the hardest part is, or if you can't, if you get stay put with somebody just like, no, I just need you to do this loop. How do I keep you? But you already have other people booked. It's like, oh, I can't do that. And then they're kind of disappointed. I think that's the hardest part about being the caddy.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to please everyone, right? Especially if people like you and want you, like you were saying. It's
yeah,
like,
that's a nice silver lining, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it is good. It's kind of like a good feeling, I bet.
Yeah, like there is a silver lining to that, definitely. I thought you were going to tell me when you had to get somebody to go +4 clubs or whatever into the wind, and they don't want to hear it. But I think it kind of we've proven through.
I got a great story. I got a great story about a golfer and.
Go ahead, Luke. Go ahead if you got us.
Great story about a golfer. Yeah, so I got so a guy came in from Jersey. We're walking to the first tee at the Cliffs, and he says, "Listen, I've had caddies all over the world. I've never had a good experience with one of them." I'm like, "Here we go, perfect."
Okay.
So he's questioning me the whole way around, like just like every single shot. I'm giving him numbers. Anyway, we go into 17 at the Cliffs, and he's 5 over. He questions me again. I looked at finally said, my man, it is not in my best interest to mislead you. So after that, he's like, how do I keep in? Then we had a great time after that. But he must have had some horrible experience with caddies because he had a hate for me. I didn't even know the man. Just because I was dressed as a caddy, he hated me right from the start. But then we built that circle of trust and kind of went on. Like he was my good buddy after. But I was like, oh my God, who was caddying for this poor guy? Like the whole way, like wasn't a bad stick either. Like just like, what do you mean? No way. All right, I'll hit it, but we'll see. I'm like, okay, you're right. But every time, all the way up to 17 at the cliffs, I was like, oh my gosh. I had to probably tell him.
I feel like caddying experiences are also kind of what you give too as a player, right? I mean, like kind of how you just explained, if you're gonna give a dog shit attitude to a caddy, I mean, it's kind of hard for you guys to get along if you're not gonna take his input and listen and at least take, if you don't want to use his input, that's fine, but at least take it into consideration. You know, be respectful. But I mean, if you're being mean and being rude, I mean, it's kind of hard to get a good relationship with a caddy, right? I feel like you got to start that bond right on the first tee.
And that's what I try and do. Like, to be a good caddy, you don't just show up and it's like you can be perfect at reading putts, you can be perfect giving the numbers. If you cannot adapt to your golfer, if they're party animals, you like, we don't drink or do anything out in the course. But if these guys kind of want to have that fun attitude, and you tell them jokes and all this other stuff. But if you have, you know, an 80-year-old couple, well, you act a certain way. You have to be able to adapt to your golfer. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what will make you a great caddy. I've never been fired as a caddy yet, you know, knock on wood. But everybody, because you just make someone comfortable. Because if you're standing on that tee and there's 4 golfers and 4 caddies and maybe your 4 buddies and their caddies, and you're trying to hit that first ball, you can't make him comfortable. He's going to snap one off on the links there and hit one of those villas up on the left. So you have to be able to get that circle of trust built right from the get-go, and then be able to, like, adapt to who he is and his personality and make him feel comfortable. That's the only way I think it makes a great caddy.
Luke, do you find like it's pretty easy for you now? You've been doing this a little while now. Is it pretty easy to like kind of pick out somebody's game, like learn their game like really quick for you now?
Yeah, it usually only takes me a couple holes, and then, because it's the best is like when you're like, yeah, it's probably, let's play about 165. What club should I hit? What club do you hit 165?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's try maybe your 6-iron, the way you've been hitting clubs. Let's try your 6-iron. They fly the green. Well, it's gonna be your 7 next time. Like, it just depends, right? Like, right. They look at you, or it's people that show up and as a caddy, it's almost like they've never putted in their life before. It's like, because I never tell somebody it's here. I'm like, do you see the same thing I see? Because if it's not my fault. It's both our faults.
Right.
So you always work with him and get him to agree with you instead of saying it. Like, they look at you, where's the break? Okay, well, it's breaking left to right. Like, is this the first time you ever swung a putter? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the way I look at it. But I always on the greens, it's here. I'm never that guy. I'm just like, this is what I see. You see that too? Oh yeah. Okay, I see that too. Okay, perfect. That way, it worked the other way. Whoops, that's on both of us.
Yeah, it's bound to happen. Then all you need to do is get each other's trust. But there's gonna be times where it's just like I imagine out there, and like Bryce said too, because the wind will, like, if you're hitting into a 4-club wind, it's gonna start affecting the ball the way it moves, even on the green, right? But do you find that you get, you've met a couple people, you've created relationships, maybe they'll come back on like a yearly trip that you get to connect and see people every year or so?
Yeah, it's actually really good. Like, I've only done this for 3 years, but the Caddy Master was telling me, I think it was requested 26 times this year.
Wow.
But it's just people who go home. So when you go there, you have to get Luke Cyr, and out of that 26, I think I was able to help 20, just because it conflicted with other tee times that I had already promised people. So you kind of feel bad that way, but there's nothing you can do. It's not like I'm gonna not keep giving my best. And now with what I'm doing with this initiative in 2025, I'm sure Cabot's reservation board's gonna light up. There's already 5 people who weren't coming this year who told me they're booking into coming this year just to be part of the journey.
Well, like I said before we kind of got started here, if we come down with the guys, maybe we can get a group. And you said you might be able to put a group of caddies together for us too, which would be pretty incredible, man.
If you let me know ahead of time, 100%. Caddy Master's name is Jake Kerr, one of my best friends. And I usually just kind of go into him, here's the email. These guys, can you make it happen? He's like, yeah, of course, seriously, I'll make it happen. And you won't be disappointed, especially with the professionally trained caddies from the caddy school.
That's awesome, Luke, man. I really appreciate everything you're doing. Like, thanks again for your service. I appreciate you giving us a bit of time there. And,
Yeah, thank you.
hopefully you can, I know you said that you don't get out and walk the fairways as much, but hopefully you can get out and check them out a little bit, take in some of the views and stuff there too. Do you typically like go down south or anything like over the winter? Like, do you have plans or do you stay in the area?
I stay in the area. I just went down to Citrus Farms. My one of my good buddies has just been promoted to director of golf down at Citrus Farms, Mike Johnson, and I was able to take my dad, my uncle, and a friend of ours, Steve Fenlon, and it was the whole thing about Cabot. If you come to Cabot, there isn't a single person here who isn't going to be just fill you with praise and be so kind to you and do everything that you want. So I seen this here at Cabot Cape Breton. I went down to Cabot Citrus Farms. It's the exact same thing, but I was on this side of the fence. I was like, oh
Yeah.
ready to carry my bag. We got that, sir. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like it was
Right.
unbelievable what this Cabot brand does. And I'm sure at every one of their golf courses. I've been to this one in Cape Breton and then Citrus, but it was unbelievable. And you give Citrus maybe a year or two to grow in, it's an unbelievable track. Unbelievable.
Well, it's also it just shows you why Cabot is so successful, right? I mean, it's got the views and it's got the location, but you throw like Citrus Farms in there and it's going to succeed just as well, even though it doesn't have the views that it does out in Cape Breton, but it has the people who care and love golf and want to be that experience, want to give you that experience every time, and that's why I think the whole Cabot organization is so successful.
And the best thing about Cabot, I could be just easily a number on a piece of paper. We're a family out here. Like the way that Cabot's supporting me, they support my foundation, they support the guys from the Caddy School for Soldiers. I remember the director of golf, Ted Stonehouse. I was talking to a guest, and that's his priority. And I was struggling for about a week last summer, and he told the guest he'd be right back. He came over to check in on me. That's amazing, and how they've supported me and just see my journey be successful. And then they just like, how can we help? And like I said, there's 315 caddies at points in this place. So for them to be able to help take care of me is unbelievable. And like I always try every chance I get to tell Ben and Jules, thank you so much for building this place because you saved my life. And my life's worth more than any piece of dirt anywhere in this world. Like my life is way more important than anything. And I'm alive, and it's because of this place.
That's awesome, man. And I kind of like, I've heard really good things about Cabot Citrus Farms. A few friends have been down there. Drew's been down there from Beyond the Contour. Bryce, he was down there checking it out. And I think it's just like what Cabot's doing right now. I was just trying to look it up because I think they have 6 properties because they just had they just opened up the one in Bordeaux, or they are about to open that one. And then Revelstoke at West. And
yeah.
It's just, they're just like such like incredible properties.
Revelstoke and
yeah. So, if you're thinking about, if you're kind of in our area, like if you're in, Ontario, or you're kind of out east, or you're just going to take a trip down to Cabot, people can, like, if they're listening to the pod, they can get in touch with somebody, try and book you, Luke. Like that's something that's pretty common that they're able to do it.
Yeah. They just call reservations, and through reservation says, I want Luke Cyr as my caddy.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, and then like we've kind of talked about here, it's all kind of being attached to your foundation.
That's like next year. It's like with next year. So in 2025, I'm donating every dollar I earn as a caddy to my foundation, along with all the other initiatives that are going along with it. So if you show up and get me as a caddy, your money's not only like, you're not only paying for like an A+ caddy. Your money's going towards saving lives. So it's like making a donation to a charity, but you get a great golf experience. So I think everybody wins.
Love that, Luke. That's so great, man. And again, like, thanks so much for taking the time. We appreciate you coming on and kind of just chatting with us and making some time, and enjoy the fall and into the winter down there. I know the winter months can be a little little hectic and chaotic down there, but spring will be here before we know it, and hopefully I can put a tee in the ground and you can tell me where to hit the ball.
Oh, exactly. And then just don't be too sad when you go low.
Yeah, it'll be I'll just be there taking in the views, man. That's the idea. It'd be great to connect and have a beer while we're down there, and just whatever numbers attached to the scorecard. I could, like I tell anybody this, I can shoot 75 or 95 or probably even more by now, but it doesn't matter to me. But Luke, thanks again, man. This was great.
Hope we're gonna have fun doing it. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it, and I wish you guys all the best. And I hope to see you down here at Cabot. This is gonna be a great summer.
He's out in my ball in the course where I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross, worst case scenario.